Welcome to Luke's Hot Takes, where I rank everything in sports from worst to best. Feel free to like and subscribe, and if I miss out on anything, or if you just flat out disagree with me, that's what the comment section is for. I hope you enjoy watching, and let's go ahead and dive in. We're kicking things off with the NHL, counting down all 32 team logos one by one. Some designs are timeless classics, some desperately need a redesign, and a few might surprise you with where they land on the list. Whether you're here to defend your favorite team, argue with my rankings, or just appreciate great sports branding, you're in the right place. So grab your jerseys, get your hot takes ready, and let's dive into this countdown. Starting off the list at number 32, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning. This logo is just way too simple for me. It's basically a single lightning bolt with one shade of blue, and that's it. For a team called the Lightning, there was so much potential to create something bold, electric, no pun intended, and intimidating. But instead, it feels bland and lacks creativity. The design is clean, but it's almost too clean, leaving it feeling generic rather than memorable. It's not a bad logo. It just doesn't take advantage of what could have been an incredible concept. That's why the Lightning come in at number 32. At number 31, I have the Vegas Golden Knights. I know, my comment section's gonna get flooded. Hear me out. When this logo first came out, I actually thought it looked good. But the more I see it, the more it reminds me of one of those generic logos that you'd pick when creating a custom team in an EA Sports game. It's clean and recognizable, but it just doesn't have that much personality. For a team based in Vegas with the name Golden Knights, there are so many opportunities to make the logo feel more unique and bring it to life. Whether it's adding more detail, incorporating more elements, or making the design feel less generic, I think there's a lot of untapped potential. It's not a bad logo, but compared to the rest of the league, it falls short for me, and that's why I have it at number 31. At number 30, I have the Colorado Avalanche. Another hot take, my comments are going to get flooded, hear me out once again. The Avalanche have one of the best color schemes in all of sports, there's no denying it. But their primary logo just has not aged well. It has a very 90s feel to it, almost like something you'd see in an old PowerPoint word art. It was great design when it first came out, but I think it's overdue for a refresh. The good news is, they already have the perfect replacement. I love their alternate C logo with the mountain peak. It's clean, modern, instantly recognizable, and still represents Colorado perfectly. It also looks really good on a hat. In my opinion, that logo would make an excellent primary logo. The colors are elite, but the main logo feels stuck in the past, which is why the Avalanche come in at number 30. At number 29, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I'm not going to apologize for this take. I know it's one of the most iconic logos in hockey, and it's built on a ton of tradition. But just like the Tampa Bay Lightning logo, I cannot stand that it only uses one color. For me, it feels way too plain. I really wish they incorporated more red into the design, kind of like what the Blue Jays have done with their logo. I think adding that extra color would make the logo pop, while still keeping its identity intact. I don't think the Leafs need a complete redesign. The maple leaf is too recognizable for that, but a subtle modern refresh might make it more current without taking away the tradition that makes it so iconic. That's why I have Toronto at number 29. At number 28, I have the Minnesota Wild. This logo has a cool concept, but I think there's too much going on. I do love the hidden details, especially the eye representing the North Star, and how the overall silhouette forms the shape of an animal's head. That's a really creative touch. Where it loses me is the moon and the trees. Those elements feel a little generic and don't add much value to the overall design. It starts to feel cluttered instead of clean. I think the Wild have the foundation for a great logo, but it could definitely use a modern update that simplifies the design while keeping the hidden details that make it unique. That's why Minnesota lands at number 28. At number 27, I have the Ottawa Senators. This is a classic NHL logo, but to me, it feels outdated. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it looks like it's stuck in the past. For a franchise that really hasn't had a defining era of success, I think this is the perfect opportunity to give the logo a fresh identity. There are so many cool directions they could go while still keeping the Roman Senator theme. A cleaner, more modern design could make the logo stand out a lot more without losing what makes it recognizable. It's a solid foundation, but I think it's overdue for a refresh. That's why the Senators come in at number 27. At number 26, I have the Buffalo Sabres. This might be one of the most disappointing logo downgrades in NHL history. I absolutely love the logo that they used from 96 to 2006. The design had a lot of personality and felt unique, even if the red and black color scheme wasn't the best fit for them. Honestly, if they took that same logo and brought it back with the current colors that they use now, I think it would look incredible. It would keep the identity of the Sabres while giving them a logo that feels more modern and memorable. When Buffalo went back to that original logo, some were excited at first, but the execution felt a little cheap. It feels like a missed opportunity for a team that has had so much history and potential. The Sabres have the colors, the history, and the opportunity to have an elite logo. They just haven't found the right balance yet. And that's why they come in at number 26. At number 25, I have the Winnipeg Jets. When Winnipeg got their team back, I was genuinely excited. Unlike a lot of relocated or revived franchises, I was hopeful that they would bring back the Jets' identity and build off the history that fans already loved. Unfortunately, they went in a completely different direction. To me, the logo follows the same formula as the Vegas Golden Knights. It has that generic, create a team feel that you would see in an EA Sports game. It's clean, but it doesn't have the personality or nostalgia that a team like the Jets should have. The Jets have such a great history and so many opportunities to create something unique, but the current logo feels like a missed chance. A modern redesign that pays tribute to the original Jets would give this franchise the identity it deserves. There's a lot of potential here, but the logo just does not stand out, which is why Winnipeg comes in at number 25. At number 24, I have the Washington Capitals. This is one of the few cases where I think the secondary logo should actually be the primary. The Capitals' current main logo is basically just the team name, and in my opinion, a team mark should be more than just words. It should be a symbol that represents the identity of the franchise. I actually love the word mark on their jerseys. It really works well as part of the uniform and has that classic feel to it. But as the main logo, it just doesn't have the same impact or creativity that a true symbol would have. Their secondary eagle logo has so much more personality and feels like something that could stand on its own. A switch to that as the primary would instantly make the brand feel stronger. The Capitals have a solid identity, but the main logo holds them back, which is why Washington comes in at number 24. At 23, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets. This was a great logo when it first came out, but over time, I feel like there's just a little bit too much happening with it. The overall concept is strong, but some of the details make it feel a bit cluttered. One thing that stands out to me is the star. It feels a little bit too similar to the Dallas Stars' current logo, which takes away some of that uniqueness. I do love the incorporation of the Ohio State flag. That's a really cool piece of identity and something that makes the logo feel connected to the state. However, I'm not a huge fan of it making a C around the star. I think that there's a way to use the idea while making it feel more original and cleaner. The Blue Jackets have a tough challenge because they don't have the same established history or fan base as some of the other NHL teams, but that also gives them an opportunity to create something truly unique. The foundation is there, but the logo needs some refinement, which is why Columbus comes in at number 23. At 22, I have the Boston Bruins. This might be my biggest hot take yet, and I already know I'm probably going to get grilled by Boston Bruin fans on this one. But honestly, guys, just look at it. The logo feels extremely old, and I think it's one of those designs that gets a pass because of the history behind it. I understand why some people love it. It's a classic NHL logo with decades of tradition, and I would never rank it lower because of that. But from a pure design perspective, I've never been a huge fan. I think it's terrible. One thing that bothers me is that it doesn't really connect with the overall aesthetic of Boston sports. The Celtics, Red Sox, the Patriots all have strong, recognizable color identities. And I think that if the Bruins could do more to incorporate those type of elements into their logo, it would look awesome. I know this logo is probably never going anywhere, and honestly, it shouldn't. The history is way too important behind it. But if we're judging purely on design, I think it's overdue for some kind of refresh. The Bruins logo is legendary, but it's just not one of my favorites, which is why it falls at number 22. At 21, I have the Vancouver Canucks. I actually really like the direction of this logo. The Native American inspired orca design is one of the more unique concepts in the NHL, and I love how it incorporates the sea identity of Vancouver. It feels connected to the city and gives the team a logo that stands out. My biggest issue is the color scheme. The logo has that blue, but where is the green? The Canucks have one of the best color combinations in the league, and I think the logo doesn't take full advantage of it. Their current branding has the beautiful blue and green look, but the primary logo doesn't really showcase it. Their old school alternate logo does bring in that more green, but honestly, I think that design is a little bit too plain and doesn't have the same impact. If Vancouver found a way to combine the creativity of the Orca logo with more of their signature green, I think this could easily be a top tier NHL logo. The foundation is there, the colors are just holding it back. That's why the Canucks come in at number 21. At number 20, I have the Calgary Flames. The Flames have one of the best color schemes in the NHL. The red, yellow, and black combination is instantly recognizable, and it fits the identity of the team perfectly. They also have one of the most loyal fan bases in hockey, which makes the logo feel even more connected to the city. The Flaming Sea is an iconic design and one of those logos that immediately tells you what team you're looking at. There really isn't much I would change because the foundation is already strong. If anything, I think they could slightly fine-tune the flame detail or find a way to incorporate more of what makes Calgary unique. Something inspired by the Calgary Stampede or the city's Western culture could even add more personality without taking away the classic look. The Flames already have a great identity. It would just take a few small adjustments to make it even better. That's why Calgary comes in at number 20. At number 19, I have the New York Islanders. This is one of the few old school logos that I still think works incredibly well, especially because of the color scheme. I'm usually someone who prefers logos with a more modern feel, but the Islanders have done a great job maintaining its classic identity that still feels relevant today. The combination of the blue, orange, and white is one of the best in the NHL, and the logo has a ton of history behind it. It's simple, recognizable, and instantly connected to the team. The one thing I would probably change is the NY lettering. The font feels a little uneven, and I think a more symmetrical design could make the logo look cleaner. Other than that, I wouldn't want to completely reinvent it. The Islanders could definitely give it a slight modern update while still keeping the traditional look that makes it iconic. That balance is what makes this one of the stronger logos in the league, which is why New York comes in at number 19. At number 18, I have the New Jersey Devils. This is one of the more creative logos in the NHL because of the hidden details. The NJ design is simple, but the way the J creates the devil's tail and the horns, it's really clever. It's the type of logo where the more you look at it, the more you appreciate the thought behind it. My biggest question is the circle around the logo. I've never really understood why it's there. Without it, I think the logo would be completely fine. In fact, it would have a stronger impact. The design is already creative enough to stand on its own. At the same time, the logo is kind of a perfect balance. It's simple and maybe a little bland at first glance, but the creativity behind it gives it a lot of character. It's a logo that has aged well and will continue to represent the Devils for many years. That's why New Jersey comes in at number 18. At number 17, I have the Carolina Hurricanes. The 2026 Stanley Cup champions come in with one of the more recognizable logos in American sports. It's a very straightforward design, but it works because there's no confusion about what it represents. The logo clearly gives off a feeling of a hurricane. The red and black color scheme is fantastic and fits the identity of the team perfectly. It's bold, aggressive, and instantly recognizable. I also love how good it looks on a hat and other merchandise. One thing I think deserves more attention is their secondary logo. The hurricane warning flags are a really cool concept, and I love the hidden details where the empty space creates the outline of North Carolina. That kind of creativity is exactly what makes a logo memorable. The Hurricanes have a strong brand identity, and while the primary logo is simple, it's effective. With the creativity of their secondary logo added in, Carolina earns the number 17 spot on my list. At 16, I have the St. Louis Blues. This is one of those logos that has stood the test of time. Outside of some color changes throughout the years, the overall design has remained largely unchanged, and that's a testament to how strong the concept is. The royal blue and yellow color scheme is one of the best in the NHL. It's bright, unique, and immediately recognizable. The musical note is also a great touch because it connects perfectly to the team's name and gives the logo a clear identity. The only thing I've never fully understood is the wing attached to the note. I know it's part of the history of the logo, but I'm not sure what it's supposed to represent or add to the design. If you have any idea, please feel free to comment. I'd love to know the history behind it. That being said, it has become such an iconic part of the logo that removing it would probably feel wrong. The Blues have introduced a new alternate logo recently, and while I still don't think it's anything groundbreaking, it's a solid design. It has a more modern generic sports logo, but it looks good and works well with the brand. Overall, the Blues have one of the most recognizable identities in hockey, and that's why St. Louis comes in at number 16. At number 15, I have the New York Rangers. This is one of the classic NHL logos, and there's no denying the history behind it. The shield design is iconic and has been associated with one of hockey's most historic franchises for generations. My biggest issue is that, while it's a good logo, it feels a little bland. When I look at it, I don't immediately think New York. It represents the Rangers, but it doesn't really capture the personality and the energy of the city itself. I actually really like the Rangers logo that incorporated the Statue of Liberty. It added a unique New York identity while still feeling connected to the team. I think there's a way they could combine that idea with the classic shield design and create something that feels both traditional and more representative of the city. The Rangers have a logo that will always be respected because of its history, but with a few modern touches, it could become something even more special. That's why New York comes in at number 15. At number 14, I have the San Jose Sharks. This is a logo that I don't think is bad by any means, but I also don't think it reaches its full potential. The Sharks have one of the most recognizable color schemes in the NHL with the teal, black, and silver combination. It's a look that immediately stands out and feels different from the rest of the league. My biggest issue is the logo itself. The shark design has a little bit of a cartoonish, almost anime-like feel to it. That does make it unique, but I think the franchise has an opportunity to create something that feels a little bit more intimidating and timeless. The good news is the concept is already there. The shark is one of the coolest mascots you can build a logo around, and there are so many creative directions they could take it. A more aggressive modern design could elevate this logo while keeping the identity that fans already love. The Sharks have the colors and the concepts to a great elite logo. They just need the right update. That's why the San Jose Sharks come in at number 14. At number 13, I have the Florida Panthers. This is another team with an incredible color scheme. The red, blue, and that Vegas gold look amazing together, and I love how the colors connect with the state of Florida's flag. It gives the Panthers a strong identity that feels tied to their location. I think the logo itself is a huge improvement from the original design, but there are a couple things that hold it back for me. The biggest one is that Florida lettering at the top. I actually think that the logo would look cleaner and stronger without it. The Panther and Shield already do enough to represent the team. Speaking of the Shield, that's another area that I have a mixed feeling on. The design works, but it does give me more of an English Premier League soccer team vibe than the NHL logo. Overall though, This is a very strong logo with great colors and a much needed upgrade from their original identity. With a few small adjustments, this could easily be one of the best logos in sports. That's why Florida comes in at number 13. At number 12, I have the Pittsburgh Penguins. For a team that has kept a classic logo for quite a long time, the Penguins actually have quite a bit of history of different logo designs. Over the years, they have experimented with a few different looks, but I'm glad they moved away from the more corporate business-like logo from the 1990s and returned back to the classic Penguin design. One thing that I really like is that they went back to the brighter yellow gold as well. The Vegas gold trend worked for some teams, but for Pittsburgh, the traditional yellow just feels natural. It gives the logo more energy and keeps that classic Penguins identity intact. This is a logo with a ton of history and one that fans immediately recognize. However, I do think it could benefit from a small update. Not a complete redesign, because the Penguin and the overall concept are too iconic to lose, but a modern refresh could make it cleaner and more current. The Penguins have a great foundation and one of the most recognizable logos in hockey. A subtle evolution could take it to another level, which is why Pittsburgh comes in at number 12. At number 11, I have the Utah Mammoth. This is the newest logo on the list, and I think Utah did a really good job. The color scheme is fantastic, and the mammoth is a unique identity that immediately stands out. I also like that the name ties back to the mammoth fossils that have been discovered throughout Utah, giving the franchise a real connection to the state. My biggest criticism is that the logo feels a little bulky. There's a lot going on, and I think it could just be simplified just a bit to make it a little bit cleaner. Then again, it's a mammoth, so maybe being a little bulky fits the theme. Overall, it's a strong logo with a lot of potential and a great start for a brand new franchise. That said, I have to mention the elephant in the room. Do I think it's better than the classic Kachina logo the Arizona Coyotes used? Not even close. The Kachina is one of the greatest logos in NHL history, and I really hope Arizona gets its hockey team back someday so we can see that logo return. Utah has a bright future with its identity, but for now, the Mammoth lands at number 11. At number 10, I have the Chicago Blackhawks. This is another one of the truly classic and iconic sports logos in North American sports. Whether you're a hockey fan or not, it's a logo that almost everyone recognizes. I know there's been controversy over its representation through the years, but from a design standpoint, I think it's the most detailed and visually striking logos in the NHL. The use of color is incredible. It combines so many different colors in a way that still feels balanced and instantly recognizable. I also appreciate that the organization kept the logo rather than completely rebranding it. Cleveland. Regardless of where people stand on the broader discussion, the logo itself has a long history with the franchise and remains one of the most recognizable identities in professional sports. From a purely design perspective, the detail, artistry, and color palette make it one of the league's strongest logos. That's why the Blackhawks come in at number 10. At number 9, I have the Dallas Stars. I think the Stars finally separated themselves from the Minnesota North Stars when they introduced their new current logo in 2013. They moved away from the old look, dropped the gold, and fully embraced the traditional Texas star. In my opinion, that was the right move. I know a lot of fans miss the gold accents, but I actually don't. I think the brighter green and black combination gives the team a cleaner, more modern identity that's instantly recognizable. The only thing that holds it back for me is the green itself. Don't get me wrong, it looks great with the black. My issue isn't the color combination. It's that when I think of Dallas sports, I think of blue. The Cowboys, Mavericks, and Rangers have all made blue such a part of the city's sports identity that green doesn't immediately feel Dallas to me. That's just my personal opinion though. From a design standpoint, this is a clean, modern logo that perfectly captures the team's name and gives the franchise its own identity separate from Minnesota. That's why the Dallas Stars come in at number 9. At number 8, I have the Los Angeles Kings. I really appreciated that the Kings embraced their classic look again. I was never a fan of their previous logo. It felt too generic and lacked the identity that such a historic franchise should have. Going back to the classic Chevy-shaped crest was the right move. I like how they modernized it with updated lettering and a cleaner crown while still respecting the team's history. It feels fresh without losing what made the original so recognizable. I also like how it fits in with the classic look of the other Los Angeles sports teams. It has that timeless feel that you see with franchises like the Lakers, and even reminds me a little bit of the old Clippers logo. It just feels like it belongs in LA. Sometimes the best redesign isn't creating something brand new, it's going back to what worked. That's exactly what the Kings did, and it was such a much needed step in the right direction. That's why the Los Angeles Kings come in at number 8. At number 7, I have the Nashville Predators. When the Predators entered the NHL in 1998, they immediately introduced one of the most original and unique logos in professional sports. Nearly 30 years later, the design hasn't changed much, and that's because it didn't need to. The saber-toothed tiger head is intimidating, aggressive, and instantly recognizable. It perfectly represents the team while also paying tribute to the prehistoric fossils that were discovered in Nashville. That's a cool connection to the city's history that not every team has. The navy and gold color scheme also stood the test of time. It's bold, unique, and makes the logo look great whether it's on a jersey, hat, or on center ice. Some logos need constant updates to stay relevant. The Predators created one that has looked great from day one and still holds up today. That's why the Nashville Predators come in at number 7. At number 6, I have the Anaheim Ducks. This is a team that desperately needed a rebrand, and in my opinion, they absolutely nailed it. As someone who's originally from Orange County and has been a lifelong Ducks fan, I couldn't have been happier with the direction they took. Going back to the classic Mighty Ducks identity with a modern touch was exactly the right move. It brought back the nostalgia that fans loved while updating the look for a new generation. I do miss the original teal and eggplant colors. They are classic, but embracing Orange County with the new orange accents was a smart decision that gives the team its own unique identity. The old Webfoot D logo had its place, but it lasted way too long. Over time, it started to feel bland and lacked the personality that made the Mighty Ducks brand so iconic. I still think it's a great secondary logo, but it was never meant to be the face of the franchise. The Ducks understood the assignment, they listened to their fans, respected their history, and delivered one of the best rebrands in NHL history. I just wish their neighbors across the street would take a few notes. That's why Anaheim comes in at number 6. At number 5, I have the Detroit Red Wings. I've said before that I'm usually not a fan of logos that only use one color. But if you're going to build a logo around a single color, this is exactly how you do it. The winged wheel is one of the most iconic logos in all of sports. The wheel pays tribute to Detroit's identity as the Motor City, and adding the wing creates a design that's simple, meaningful, and instantly recognizable. It's one of those logos that tells a story without being overly complicated. The all-red color scheme doesn't bother me here because the logo has so much detail and movement that it never feels plain. In fact, the simplicity is part of what makes it so timeless. It's another staple of the NHL, and it's one of those logos that looks good on a hat, center ice, on any sort of merchandise. Decades later, it still holds up as one of the best designs in hockey. That's why the Detroit Red Wings come in at number 5. Number 4, the Philadelphia Flyers. This is the perfect example of how a simple logo can be absolutely elite. At first glance, it looks clean and straightforward, but the more you look at it, the more you appreciate the design. The flying P is brilliant. The wings perfectly represent the Flyers' name, and blending the P in the logo is such a clever touch. It's simple, creative, and instantly recognizable without trying to do too much. I've mentioned before that I usually prefer when a city's sports teams share the similar color identity. Philadelphia's other teams don't really use orange and black, but this is one of the few exceptions where I don't care. The Flyers logo and jerseys are so iconic that they've created an identity all on their own. This is one of those logos that has barely needed any changes because it's done the right from the beginning. It's timeless, unique, and one of the cleanest designs in all of sports. That's why the Philadelphia Flyers come in at number 4. At number 3, I have the Montreal Canadiens. One word: classic. There's not much else to say. This is arguably the most recognizable logo in all of hockey, and maybe even one of the most recognizable logos in all of North American sports. The iconic CH crest has stood the test of time for over a century. Over a century. It doesn't need flashy redesigns or constant updates because it was already done right the first time. It's simple, timeless, and instantly recognizable no matter where you see it. If baseball has the New York Yankees logo, hockey has the Canadiens logo. That's the level of prestige and recognition we're talking about. Some logos become iconic because they're old. This is one of those iconic logos because it's simply one of the greatest logos ever created. That's why the Montreal Canadiens come in at number 3. At number 2, I have the Edmonton Oilers. This is, in my opinion, the best of the classic NHL logos. It's a perfect example of how a simple design can become timeless. I love the oil drop sitting above the lettering and how everything fits perfectly inside the circle. It's clean, balanced, and instantly recognizable. One of my favorite details is the way the lettering almost looks like it's dripping as if it's actual oil. It's a subtle touch, but it perfectly represents the team's identity. I've mentioned before that I'm usually not a fan of logos where the team name is a major part of the design, but this is one of the rare exceptions. Here, the lettering isn't just text, it's an essential part of what makes the logo work. What I appreciate most is that after all these years, the Oilers have barely touched it. They haven't needed to. When a logo is this well designed, you don't reinvent it, you preserve it. It's a true NHL staple and one of the greatest logos in hockey history. That's why the Edmonton Oilers come in at number 2. And finally, at number 1, I have the Seattle Kraken. When Seattle introduced this logo, they absolutely hit it out of the park. For a brand new franchise, creating an identity that feels like it has always belonged is incredibly difficult, but the Kraken did exactly that. There are so many things that make this logo perfect. First, the S is simple, but it's also incredibly creative. It pays tribute to the old Seattle Metropolitans hockey team while creating a completely new identity for the Kraken. It's a perfect balance between honoring the past and building the future. The hidden tentacles inside the S are another amazing detail. They're subtle enough that they don't overwhelm the logo, but once you notice them, they add another layer of creativity that makes the design even better. The color scheme is also one of the best in sports. The deep blue, teal, and red accents feel like Seattle. They represent the city, the ocean, and the Puget Sound while giving the team a look that is completely unique in the NHL. And the red eye? That's the perfect finishing touch. It adds just enough intimidation and personality without taking away from the clear design. When you see this logo, you immediately know it belongs to the Seattle Kraken. It's modern, creative, meaningful, and already feels like a classic. For a team that has only been around for a few years, they created one of the best identities in hockey history. And that's why the Seattle Kraken have the best logo in all of the NHL. Thank you for watching my video. I look forward to seeing the comments, see how many people agree with me, see how many people disagree with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as I will have more content coming this way. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and thanks again for watching.